There was a really good study from Growth Syndicate, which looked at AI
Mhm.
adoption across businesses and the impact that it's having. And a couple of stats really stood out to me that highlight the problem, which is 63% of B2B marketers are already concerned that AI is increasing the noise.
I had one CEO who said, "Why don't I just uh, connect it to my SharePoint and it would have all the information about my company?" Uh, and I said, "Well, that's great if you want all the information about your company to be exposed to Claude."
Just a quick one before we get into the episode, because I've got an offer that I'm sure all of you will be interested in. AEO is something that every B2B marketing team is trying to figure out right now, and most just don't know where to start. But at Blend, we're offering a full AEO analysis of your brand's AI visibility, and we'll walk you through exactly what we found and what to do about it. From full prompt analysis against your competitors to a citation analysis, where we'll look at different content types and how you're being cited for those and mentioned in those, and what you can actually do to be mentioned and cited much more for your brand, and what content you should create going forwards, and how you comprise that strategy really. We will drop a note in the description of this episode in the show notes, and you can go over there, request your free AEO audit, and we will deliver that to you. Hi everyone, welcome back to Demand Decoded. Dan here with you as always. And this is a bit of a different episode because this is off the back of a LinkedIn Live that Josh and I hosted a couple of weeks back. And it was on the topic of how to fix AI inconsistency across go to market. And there is a huge fundamental issue appearing in go to market right now with the mass usage of AI. And don't get me wrong, like we are just all over usage of AI in our go to market, and how we use it for efficiency gains is absolutely incredible. But there are a lot of businesses suffering with this inconsistency challenge, and ultimately a big risk to their business in that as they start to use AI more and more and more, the quality, the consistency, and that means the efficiency as well, all kind of disperse because the content that you're layering in, the context you're giving to AI is actually drawing further and further away from the truth of your business. So we spend a bit of time talking about how you overcome this issue, how you can use kind of like Claude projects and gems in Gemini to actually plug this gap a little bit. But no shame in saying we do talk about BlendCore as a solution to this, and we show what it is and how it can be used essentially as a master governed knowledge base where you inject all of the information you want to be consistent about your company, as well as best practice guidance on how to structure content, how to structure LinkedIn posts, AEO content, all of that stuff that we bake into the product so you can use it. And if you type in, create me a LinkedIn post, it will actually structure it in a way that is best for that platform. Yeah, we get into all that stuff. It was a fun LinkedIn Live, so I really wanted to share it on the podcast as well. Might be worth hopping over to YouTube if you want to actually see the like behind the scenes, but I think we do a pretty good job of describing it too. So I'm pretty sure you'll get some value from it on audio as well. But hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and I will catch you in the next one. Before we get into the podcast today, here's a quick word from our sponsors, HubSpot. Most businesses think they know their customers. They have the data, the records, the history, but it's scattered across 3 teams and 4 systems, which means nobody can actually use it. HubSpot connects it all. Every interaction, every support ticket, every conversation into one platform every team can work from. So when sales talk to a customer, marketing already know the full story. And when you know more, you grow more. Check out HubSpot.com, the agentic customer platform for growing businesses. All right, we are live. It's been a while since we've done a live, and it's nice to, be live on air with a real audience, and who knows what's
It,
going to
it,
happen on a live.
it's been about 53 years since I've done a live.
I'm impressed that you managed to do a live in the womb. So, that's the story for another day.
I was an
But
early
right,
adopter.
we're here to talk about how to fix AI inconsistency across your entire go to market. And it's something that Josh and I have spoken about a few times on our podcast, Demand Decoded. get a real hold on your AI governance and make sure that it's consistent and effective.
That's it.
Done.
Where do you want to begin?
All right. Well, I think it'd be interesting, Josh, from your perspective, to hear more about like where you see this problem happening most, so we can try and like resonate with people and they can think, oh yeah, that is me, I'm feeling that pain right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's twofold. In marketing teams, um, that we see it in our company, in our marketing team, and we see it with a lot of our customers. There's a real heavy push right now to create more content faster, be more engaged in AEO, more engaged in content generation, and nobody wants to sit and go through you know slow iterative cycles of blog posts and things like that used to take a long time but don't have to anymore with AI. The problem is we see all kinds of folks that are using ChatGPT or Claude or what have you to sometimes on their personal account, sometimes it's a corporate account, but they're using it without any kind of consistency, and those tools only have access to what what is publicly available, and what that person might upload into it, which is yet if it's a personal account, all kinds of problems there. The flip side, or the second group that we're seeing a lot of challenge with, though, is in the sales and sales engineering teams. They're they're answering RFPs, they're responding to or building proposals, they're in some cases even editing statements of work, which is a little scary. Um, and in those cases, it's literally very direct customer facing content, very specific, that they're putting in, that's it's being created without any kind of brand governance, without any assurance that I saw one Dan one example where a sales guy had used Claude to write a response, and Claude had gone out and had looked at the industry, looked at the company, looked at other companies in the space, and it created a narrative in the response that was literally competition's arguments. It wasn't even the company's
Yeah.
that company's specific uh, you know identity. Uh, it was specifically about the competition, and it put it into the narrative that uh, that salesperson then was using out in the market. So, like I think it is very very relevant for today and very serious that we do want to, like, this is all about enablement of teams, but doing so in a way that is safe and really gets the we put so much effort into making our companies unique.
Yeah.
Telling that story with AI at scale is what we're trying to do.
Yeah. There was a really good study from Growth Syndicate, which looked at AI
Mhm.
adoption across businesses and the impact that it's having. And a couple of stats really stood out to me that highlight the problem, which is 63% of B2B marketers are already concerned that AI is increasing the noise rather than
Mhm.
and actually reducing differentiation as output volume rises. And
Right.
that's not a surprise because the more your team relies on AI, the wider that gap gets unless you have a solution to govern context about your business and make things consistent. And another stat in that study was that around 50% of B2B marketing teams lack any kind of formal AI policy at all. And look, I am not one for policy. I'm a bit of a rogue. Honestly, like I don't actually like governance. I don't like regulations, but AI it requires some form of governance and some form of policy in place or a solution that
Yeah.
can manage that.
You say that, but then if you catch one of our sales team putting content out there that has nothing to do with us,
Yeah,
you're
right.
suddenly the biggest fan of governance. So,
That's true.
yeah, I hear you, but yeah, this is necessary. What we need is to be able to make it not such a heavy governance layer that we say, oh, you can't use the tools, or that it becomes just too difficult to use the tools. It needs to be easy to use for go-to-market teams to be able to leverage it and get the benefits that AI can create within their environment.
Yeah. So there's one step that teams are making already, and this is the first step we actually made a
Mhm.
couple of years ago, probably like when everything was taken off, which is to start using like Claude projects, custom GPTs, gems in Gemini to actually start
Skills.
uploading
Yeah.
context and knowledge and instructions in order to actually start refining that consistency. That's
Mhm.
great, and they do work great. But the
It's a good
issue
start.
is once you start having, 100 plus of these projects, all of a sudden you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of context. That's a lot of knowledge for me to keep up to date. Because I'm thinking of some of our projects that we did have, which was uploaded with all kinds of things. We had case
Mhm.
studies in there, we had tone of voice documentation, ICP information. Well, the moment you update one of those things, you've then got 100 projects to go back through and update. And
That's right.
I do think is a really good starting point to understand how you can start to use AI knowledge and context together. But
Mhm.
the issue again, like goes back to that stat, like as we start to use AI more and more and more and rely on it more and more, the gap just grows. Even if you're starting to use projects and things to maintain knowledge.
Yeah, and that the emphasis there falls to the individual, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you can create projects that are shared, but there's nothing requiring the person who, the next person in who wants to create something to use that project. They have to be aware it exists, then they have to go use it. You might be able to manage it centrally in terms of what that project knows about, but the emphasis is on the user to comply. The and in some cases, if you're not centrally, creating projects and centrally sharing them out, eh, the entire emphasis is on the user because they have to now create the project. Your project is going to be different than my project, even though we're trying to do similar things. Um, it's and then, like you say, if that feeder content changes, if the knowledge changes for that project that it's built around, we have an update process that is really quite heavy, both at the individual level or at the corporate level, and then going around to every individual project, discovering which ones are out there and making sure that the updates get made. It's really, I mean, it's really at scale, it's just not even that kind of model. You're basically just accepting then that, our governance model is going to lay with the individual, and I don't know too many governance people that would say that's a good model for long-term success.
Yeah, and it's just not an effective way to go to market because every
Right.
asset you produce is at risk of being different, using different context, using different information, and it's just a scattered mess ultimately across like sales, success, marketing, and yeah, there's
Totally.
a real risk there.
So what's
So,
the answer, Dan?
well, I was going to ask you that. That I want you to give the punchline. So, Josh, what's BlendCore? I think is the question I wanted to ask.
Yeah. Okay. So BlendCore is a product that we've come to market with. We've recently launched it. Its origination came from our own need for governed AI at scale,
Yeah.
and I should say governed AI content creation specifically. That's what we're after. Um, and and what it is effectively is a cloud-based knowledge base that stores all kinds of information about your commercial identity, your ICPs, your products and services, we're going to show you. We're going to get into the tool and we'll show you some of the things that are in there. So I won't waste time there, but um, basically our goal is to create a digital twin of your commercial identity, and then we wrap it with an MCP wrapper that allows us to then plug it in as a connector into Claude or into ChatGPT or any other AI platform that supports MCP connections. And so now, when connected to BlendCore, um, all of that rich, unique information about your company, it everything you create using that LLM uh, is leveraging that content and putting up bumpers and guardrails and telling that story, tell it whatever story it's trying to tell, telling it in the context of your particular business, not the market as a whole or just what you have on your website or your competitor's business or any other thing that it discovers. So that's what BlendCore is. Like I say, we've been using it now for 6, 7, 8 months now. It's amazing how fast time goes. We've seen it in our business, and now we've deployed it into some of our customers, and now we're offering it more broadly.
Yeah, it always cringes me out to run things like this and like create content that's just like, look at this thing that we built. But well, let's actually, you know what? Let's just get into the demo. I was gonna say it's just really cool, but I'll just show you instead of me saying it because yeah, we're really really proud of what you can do with this, and I'm excited to show you. So, firstly, I wanted to show what's inside of BlendCore. And let me, how's that? Yeah, that's better. And yeah, I popped a few tabs open here so we can get to things quickly because I think it's worth showing as much as we can in this limited time. So BlendCore is, as Josh has mentioned, a managed knowledge base of information about your business and anything that you want to be standardized across your teams using AI. So things that we've got in here range from tone of voice to glossary terms, convictions, product service information, ICP information. And some key things I want to show you here is like, how does this actually look? How have we curated this information? So our tone of voice documentation here is loaded in as our writing style. And you can see this is formatted in Markdown. So it's easy for AI systems to actually read this and passage the information and extract the
Mhm.
key points in it. So, we've listed out our brand voice, who we're writing for, what you should say, what you shouldn't say, how to write for our UK and US audience, what to say on each channel. A real good detailed overview of how we should sound as a business. And you'll know by using AI as standard without any context added to it, its tone is very much AI. Like you can tell when you produce something with AI that you've produced it with AI. And this is a layer to stop that and give you a consistent tone. The next thing to look at here is like our ICP information. So here you can see the industries that we've got loaded up, the company sizes that we want to work with, our priority job titles that we're seeking. I suppose this is a bit of a hybrid between ICP and persona for us. But you could
Right.
have multiple of these. You could have multiple ICPs. You could even split it out into personas if you really wanted to. We've just combined it here. And again, we've got an overview of our ICP, the types of companies they are, the industries, the personas, um, the types of operations they're running, their challenges, everything we would need to know in order to curate messaging, content, etc. Particularly for our ICP, we've got their pain points there too. We could have their goals, and this is really allowing us to tailor everything we're doing to the people we actually want to reach and make sure it's not generic. Um, One really cool thing that I'm working on building out with the team at the moment is content guides. And this is one thing that I really, really love about BlendCore. And I'm going to show an example in a minute about how it's actually helped me, which is, well, in this example, it's a LinkedIn best practice guide. And we've all seen posts on LinkedIn that are just formatted a bit strange and formatted in a way that's very much AI. They use a lot of emojis, they use a lot of strange language they probably wouldn't use. But there is um, a model that you can use in order to create LinkedIn posts in the best way possible that are just structured for the platform. This isn't necessarily going to, make you go viral on LinkedIn, but it's a way to structure a post in a way that is geared for LinkedIn readability and optimization. So within BlendCore, we can load up best practices. So how to create a good LinkedIn post, how to create an article for AEO, for blogs, how to create homepage hero messaging. And that's knowledge that is baked into BlendCore. So that when you go and just open up a brand new chat on Claude and say, write me a LinkedIn post, well, I'll show you what it does actually in a bit. But yeah, this is
And
really
Dan, you mentioned a word a couple of minutes ago, curate, and I think it's worth double clicking on that because of what you're
Mhm.
talking about now. The way we've designed Blend Core, I mean, anybody could create something similar, right, and put a MCP wrapper around it. The power of Blend Core, other than the fact that it already exists and it's built and it's ready for use, is the content within it for ourselves and for our customers is curated by our team of B2B marketers. So, uh, when customers submit information to be stored into BlendCore, it's being curated by strategists, by copywriters, by people who understand in detail what it takes um, to create high performance content.
yeah,
And so all of the content that's in it is it's not just, it doesn't just become a garbage dump of everything that the company creates. I had one CEO who said, "Why don't I just connect it to my SharePoint and it would have all the information about my company?" Uh, and I said, "Well, that's great if you want all the information about your company to be exposed to Claude, but that's probably not what you want. You want a very curated, very intentional digital twin that
yeah,
is specific to what you want to be telling the market, not just, can you imagine if every support ticket had visibility to, if the LLM had visibility to all of your support tickets? That's not exactly the level of transparency we
yeah,
think is ideal. um, so I think part of the important thing here, whether it's BlendCore or it's your own solution, if you're going down the road of creating a governance solution for your organization, it needs to be the scope needs to be limited, particularly when you're talking about a go-to-market approach, and it needs to be constantly curated so that you're
mm,
you're updating both best practices for how to create best content, which is in our case coming from our team, and then also you're updating it with important developments within your company so that it always has the most up-to-date information that you want to be able to expose.
yeah, for sure. Um, And I suppose the other thing that I wanted to touch on, what's inside of BlendCore, is when we think about the assets that your team is using again and again and again. For us, one of those is case studies. Like we use case studies all the time in everything that we do, on our website, in our content, in our sales proposals, RFP responses. Like everything uses case studies, and by layering those reusable assets into a governed system, well, like your AI model can just pull them out and use them in the relevant context. And let me show you
Yeah.
an example of that now. So I wanted to share a kind of like before and after shot of BlendCore in action and show you actually what it does. I didn't want to wait for it to load, so I've preloaded this, but you can see, it was loaded in. And what I've asked here is to write a LinkedIn post about the RMS Cloud case study from Josh himself. And I wanted to focus on the PE angle, the fact they were acquired, and then the CMO had this particular mandate, talk about the challenges, how we solved them, and the results and impacts. Now, I've pasted in the case study as well, and that will make sense in a second when I show you the other version. But what we can see here is what has BlendCore actually gone away to do? Well, firstly, it's got the content guides tool, which is looking for, um, I think we can see it in here. one of these, it shows, here we go, LinkedIn best practice guide. Right. So BlendCore has identified that I'm asking it to write a LinkedIn post. So it's gone away and said, okay, I've got a guide on how to write a LinkedIn post. Let me pull that in. Now, at the same time, let me pull in your tone of voice because that's relevant as well. So now it's realized that, okay, Josh is in US because I gave it that context at the start. Let me take the US tone of voice. And let me take the content guide for LinkedIn and write you a post that, if I look through this, is telling the story in the way we should do on LinkedIn. It's written like a proper LinkedIn post, structured in the right way, using short sentences, etc. And yeah, I would be pretty happy with that. On the flip side, if we take my blank um, Claude account that isn't connected to BlendCore, has no history about us or anything, you can see same exact prompt here. I've loaded in the case study for the simple fact that um, BlendCore obviously would have access to this, but my personal account wouldn't know what it was, wouldn't know what the RMS case study was without me putting it in here. And we can see the difference in the post here. So this is very much just blocks of text, which is being pulled from the
Mhm.
case study. It's not structured in a way that lends itself to LinkedIn, which is like line by line, broken up, a lot of breathing room. And yeah, don't get me like the content is actually not bad. Claude's done a pretty good job here of extracting relevant things from that case study, but it's the structure. Like the structure is not laid out in a way that suits how people read and consume on LinkedIn. Like, let's just, come back over here, and you can definitely see the difference in like line by line versus big walls of text. Yeah, clear difference, and that's kind of what the Blend Core content guides are made to do. We can see
I
here.
know I know that personally. My the folks that read my posts have often lately been telling me how much more they appreciate them now than, than they did when I was writing them purely without any AI support. It's pretty funny actually that they've gotten better because of the I can weave my ideas into a blend core driven LinkedIn
Yeah.
post, and it's better.
Yeah. And check this out, right? So I posted on LinkedIn today about our marketing manager role. And look at this prompt. I didn't even spell I'm right. But I basically just wanted to test out the content guide and just gave it a really quick prompt, like, post on LinkedIn, but make it authentically me. And it gave me a few examples, and I was like, no, I don't really like that. Give me something more like I'm hiring, like super, super excited.
Give it
And
some punch.
funnily enough, the content guide loaded into BlendCore pushed back on me. I couldn't believe it. It said, it's a hard no from me on that one. That's the exact opening the LinkedIn guide tells you to avoid. And honestly, you'd cringe posting it. I was like, actually, yeah, you're probably kind of right. And in the end, we came to some kind of happy medium. But that is why this content guide is there. And you can imagine the way that this works throughout every content type you create. Like if you're creating a blog for AEO and you're trying to structure it
Right.
in a particular way, this is going to structure that for you. So yeah, like really cool. I did have another example, but Josh, I'm conscious of time, and I want to see your two examples that you've got loaded up.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Let me share my screen.
I just wanted to interrupt this episode to tell you about another show that's in the HubSpot podcast network, Nudge, hosted by Phil Agnew. Nudge is the UK's #1 marketing podcast, breaking down the hidden psychology behind what we do and why we do it. There's no BS, no fluff, just smart, science-backed insights that actually work. Recent guests include Rory Sutherland, Robert Cialdini, and Dan Pink. Marketers will love this show. I know you will because I do. And it's because it discusses the psychology behind customer decisions and the secrets to successful marketing. And in one recent episode, I'll pick on Robert Cialdini's episode because it was really, really insightful. It spoke about 16 years ago, there was a chain of Chinese restaurants that wanted to increase sales without changing price. They didn't change the product, they didn't change the service, the chef, the food. Instead, they just changed 2 words on their menu and increased sales by 18%. They are the small nudges that you can can make in marketing, in sales, to actually make a big difference to sales and to revenue. Listen to Nudge wherever you get your podcasts. Right now, every B2B marketing team is trying to figure out AEO, where they stand, whether it matters for them, and what they're supposed to actually do about it. The best place to start is knowing where you stand. We're offering a full AEO analysis of your brand's visibility across AI search engines, how often you're mentioned, what you're being cited for, and how your competitors are showing up. Then we'll walk you through the findings on a call with clear next steps. And we're doing all of this for free. You can request your analysis in the show notes below. Yeah, I mean, we've got tons of examples. And if anybody is curious about seeing any specific things, like, you can reach out to us. You can drop me a message, drop Josh a message, and we can share that with you.
All right,
Sorry, here we go.
Dan, do you have me?
Yep.
All right, cool. Okay, so I said, okay, I'm going to be a sales guy, and I need to create a proposal. And so I told it what we were doing because I wanted to like it. I'm in incognito. I didn't have a personal account to use, and incognito. Even in incognito, Claude tries to be smart and use existing connectors and use skills and things that we might have published. And so I had to be more direct with it. But I want you to create a sample proposal for a fictitious company that is struggling to meet their growth goals and have come to Blend for help. They're a $50 million revenue business, PE owned, and in the fintech space. They got a new CRO. So I gave it some background. Uh, and said, okay, go ahead and create for me based on what you can figure out about what's out there, a proposal. And it created a document that looks reasonably professional. Um, it says it's got an understanding your situation. That's pretty limited because I gave it limited information. It did invent a company called Nova Ledger, which I thought was fun. But but then so here's what it recommended. It came and said, okay, we need to have 3 work streams, some targeting and messaging, some demand generation, and then making sure that our metrics are aligned between sales and marketing, which we think is always really critical to being able to do anything in consistent revenue generation. So not bad, not terribly thorough, definitely not AI forward. Um, then it created a timeline, 6 months of really just running a demand generation program effectively, which is not a terrible idea. It's maybe a good idea. Um, Came up with an investment. I have no idea where that came from, uh, but it came up with a chart with a cost, and then next steps. Align with the CRO, confirm scope, kick off the foundation. Okay. What's true about this is, yeah, there's some general, it's very high level, which makes sense because I didn't give it a lot. Um, but it's very generic. This could apply to any
Mm,
marketing company really
yeah.
that's out there. So okay, that's step one. Now I gave it the same prompt, didn't tell it couldn't use BlendCore because I wanted to use BlendCore this time. Um, and now we see, okay, so it came through and it pulled guides and it pulled tone of voice and it pulled positioning. It grabbed all kinds of information that you can see over here. It it went through and discovered that its initial draft had some formatting problems, so then it went through and corrected those, and then it gave me a summary and so on. But the document itself looks a whole lot nicer. First of all, it's formatted completely accurately to what our standard is uh, for a Word doc proposal. Uh, it then went and it created a much more tailored proposal that really does capture what our brand is and what how we would attack this problem of this $50 million company that's not hitting their growth goals. And so it gave me a better executive summary. It then went into why things are disconnected in the company, created some symptoms and root causes, Again, some of that it made up, but but good. It was good stuff. It was like in the right direction. Then it said, okay, look, here's how we're going to tackle this from our approach. It
Hmm.
got into HubSpot. It got into BlendCore, like we're talking about today. It got into Blend IQ,
Yep.
which is for another day for us to talk about. But very AI forward, very enabling of AI agents and workflows to be able to solve problems more efficiently. Um, and then it went and it instead of creating just a generic 6-month uh, campaign, it said, "Look, here's what we're going to do in the next 90 days," and it put out a proposed approach that is exactly how we would go and attack this problem. Uh, so and and then it went on to explain who you'll work with. So it talked about some of our roles and how we build teams to solve problems like this, and talked about how we would measure it, specific outcomes that we were trying to drive beyond just purely revenue, which I think is also important. And then it created a structured budget that was different from the last one, but more thoughtful, more detailed about what we would actually be doing. And then, you know, why was specific to who we are and what the customer needed, and then some next steps.
Yeah.
Overall, a nicer looking document. So I don't, if I was a sales guy, I wouldn't have to go take that first one and then paste it into my form and get my formatting right. It's already created. And more importantly, it's far more thorough in what it actually diagnoses and proposes. So that's one example. Do I have time for one more quick one?
Well, I'm good to run over if you are.
Okay. All right. Well then, hey friends, we're gonna run over. So I'm gonna go back to the old one, and I'm gonna grab. Pardon me while I grab this for a moment. Uh, okay, and I'm just gonna jump right back in to this, and we're gonna try something live. Okay, you're a sales team member answering an RFP. I haven't. By the way, Dan, I haven't tested this, so we're gonna find out live. That's the fun of being live. Uh, so you've got an RFP for marketing and demand gen services. The question in the RFP is explain the unique capabilities of your company and how you differentiate from all the other marketing companies out there, which is a very reasonable question given how many marketing companies exist in the world.
Mm.
Draft and then I said draft a response that is no longer than 3 paragraphs that captures Blend's uniqueness. Uh, and then I had to tell it, do not use historical chats to inform your response, and you may not use any connectors that I don't have turned on. Okay, so let's see what it does with this. Let me close this window, and we'll just see what we get. And then while it's thinking, I'm going to grab the same prompt, except that I'm going to change to allow it to use BlendCore. And I'm going to close this window again, and I'm going to come over here. And so same prompt, except I said, do not use historical chats to inform your response.
Yeah.
Do use the BlendCore connector in addition to your own research. So if we come in here, we can see the Blend MCP, that's BlendCore, is enabled. Um, uh, uh, and let's go. Okay. Here we are. Okay. At Blend, our name is unique. Our name is our philosophy. We blend brand and demand into a single revenue. Wow, that's a lot of text to write to read through it in a live setting. I should have thought about that. Um, uh, Most agencies are measured on outputs, campaigns shipped, impressions bought, MQLs. We hold ourselves accountable to outcomes that your CFO and CRO actually care about, qualified pipeline, conversion to the funnel. Okay, so it's not bad. It's obviously read our website,
Yeah.
um, and is trying to create something that's useful, but again, probably not terribly unique. Not doesn't tell the whole story.
Mm.
Um, Now we'll see what my friend over here says, who has access to BlendCore.
I love the
And
fact you can see what it's doing. Like, you can see what BlendCore is going to do. So, like, it's going to fetch, the ICP guide. It's going to fetch case studies, like do all of these things, and
right.
it's showing you exactly what it's going away to actually fetch and bring in. Um,
One of the things that I'd highlight is convictions in particular as part of
mm,
convictions are my favorite part of BlendCore. And the reason why is you can write information, most companies can write information about ICPs and things like that. Um, but the convictions are are the essence of who the company is. What makes that company unique? What do they really believe that's different than what their competitors believe or their market believes? What do they believe about the future and the future of their customers' businesses? And so we interrogate that deeply, for ourselves and for our customers who use BlendCore, so that we can get a really truly authentic and deep understand. And so all of that earnest, gotta like this is us,
yeah,
information is infused in everything that it writes. Then, so I think for me, convictions is like my very favorite part of it. But
yeah.
okay, so here we are. Uh,
This is really cool. Do you know the bit that stands out to me straight away is the fact it's pulled in data and stats.
Right. That's exactly right. I won't again. I won't take the time to read through all of it, but it's citing case studies. It's citing stats of So if this was an RFP response, and the other one was kind of all nice and but not particularly specific, this we've got real detail. Most it starts with differentiating right off the bat. Right. Most marketing companies sell you a channel or a campaign. We build and run the system that produces the revenue. Blend is a B2B growth partner that engineers the connected engine behind predictable pipeline. And then it goes through and starts to work through the entire growth life cycle and uh, how we work within that. It then shows outcomes of specifically what we've been able to do over the 15 years that we've been in business, and and then where we're headed. So it starts to leverage in. Here it is, BlendCore, an AI layer that holds the client's brand intelligence, uh, and goes through how we can create a more efficient environment for that customer. So again, like the could a salesperson have written this? Yes. Could every salesperson have written this? Probably not. Would they have
Mm.
written it the way we want them to write it? Definitely not. Um, and so, well, I'm like just being honest.
It's true.
I've
Yeah,
I've answered thousands of RFPs in my career, and I know what kind of content goes into some of those. But if you could create a process that allowed that RFP to be response to be generated with AI, but had all of the important information available to it, so that it could formulate it in a way that really made your company stand out, wouldn't your likelihood of progressing go up? And we know that it does because we've seen that in our own business, right?
yeah,
We've won RFPs that historically we probably really would have struggled as a business to achieve.
yeah,
And this process has helped us get really a whole lot better at being able to articulate that and
yeah,
respond with better quality for the buyer, which is good because the buyer's really just saying, how do I separate these different companies that all look the same? And so being able to give them really meaty content that helps them to do that is it's in their service, and it's obviously in ours.
yeah. I think the three words I would use to describe BlendCore is probably quality, consistency, and efficiency, because it gives you all of those things together. And for me, like from what I was doing today, the efficiency gain of having case studies, like that reusable asset in there to use. I don't have to keep copying and pasting context into Claude. Like it just knows, it just has access to that. And that's why like we can do so much as well with such
Right.
a small team, because we have things like this in place that just enable like huge efficiency gains. And I love
Yeah,
it.
oh, that's right.
All right. Well, we're 10 minutes over. I think we did okay. I kind
Oh,
of
wow.
knew we were going to go over.
That was fun. I thought we were like 17 minutes in. I'm like, "Oh, what are we gonna talk about next?" That's
All right.
awesome.
Well, yeah, let's leave it there. And yeah, this is cool. I think we should do more LinkedIn lives.
All right. Let's do it.
All right, great. Thank you for everyone tuning in. And yeah, we will catch you in the next one whenever we do that. Thanks for listening and watching.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the episode today. Before you head off, if AEO has been on your mind and you're not sure where to start, here's something worth doing right now. We're offering a full AI visibility analysis completely free. We'll look at how your brand is showing up across the major AI engines, what's influencing those results, how competitors compare, and what you should do about it. Then we'll walk you through all the findings on a call. Actual findings too, specific to your business with real next steps. Not a template, not a PDF, a proper analysis. You can request yours by clicking the link in the description below.